that cleaned off. No problem at all. The Pro Stock Ladder, presented by Lucas Oil. Alan Johnson, #1 for the 36th time. A great matchup between Vincent Nobile and Jonathan Gray. Jonathan, a countdown critical driver. That's how it kicks off today.
Other side of the ladder, I'm looking at Erica Enders. Good to see her back after 2-race hiatus. Still having the points lead going up against Dave River. Both her and Dave Conley can win their first round matchup. It could be a race between nemesis.
Well, one of the questions about the Gray Motorsports cars, considering that Shane and Dave Conley have already clinched their way into the countdown to the championship, why hasn't Jonathan Gray? Especially when you take a look at the fact that this guy is money leaving the Christmas tree. But both Dave and Shane looked at me and said, there is more than just leaving the starting line, and he's still a work in progress.
Well, and I'm sure they're talking about, keeping the car, in the center of the groove, hitting your shift points, which is very critical. And we're talking just, if you're 100 RPM off on those shift points, it can really kill a lot of your elapsed time. You take a look at the points here. Jonathan Gray, about 2 rounds out of from Greg Anderson, that number 10 spot. But Greg Anderson's been running very well. It's not going to be easy for Jonathan. Now we're going to take in the fact the conditions are much better than the Pro Stock cars have seen all weekend. 2,000 feet better. So that 661 low elapsed time is going to get obliterated this round.
Vincent already qualified in the countdown. Could have tire shake as well. Oh!
Hang on.
Jonathan Gray crosses the center line. It looked like Vincent was in trouble first. Both cars eventually developed it. And because Jonathan Gray crosses the center line, Vincent moves on with a 772. At the time they started hitting third gear, it looked like, hold on.
Getting loose. Yeah, Jonathan was uncharacteristically late, but you see there, boy, it made that nice move. Well, I shouldn't say nice, but quick move over towards the center. Watch the right side of your screen. Once these cars start moving around, there's not much downforce on them, and they get loose very, very quickly. And both of those drivers had that happen to them, and unfortunately for Jonathan Gray, he took it right across the center line for an automatic disqualification.
Second round of Top Fuel coming up. Larry Dixon and Antron Brown will kick it off. And Larry, while Antron's worried about trying to catch Doug Coletta for the #1 position in the points, other people are wanting to get into the countdown. You're just here to race for a Wally. What's that like?
Yeah, just racing for the trophies and the cash. I mean, that's I guess that's probably like it was in the old days. But we're up here. I mean, obviously, it's a great car we're racing, and we lucked out when we beat him a few races back at Denver. You're not going to beat him again being lucky. We got to go out there and earn it this time.
LD with 3 wins at Brainerd, 1 with Alan Obby, 2 with the Snake. Now trying to get Bob Vandergriff Racing a win.
Check in with Jonathan Gray. He got out of the car, a lot of emotion. How tough is that race surface to handle right now?
Well, Gary, as far as I'm concerned, it's not safe out there right now. Thing was going fine. Put it in third gear, and it just took a hard right, and for no apparent reason. And I just don't think it's, in my opinion, I just don't think it's safe out there.
And in a countdown critical situation that you're in, this makes it doubly painful, I'm sure.
It does. Absolutely it does. But, what do you do? Go on to the next one, I guess.
All right, thanks.
Johnny, we just heard from Jonathan saying he didn't think it was safe out there. We saw your reaction from here when you saw him get across the line. Just overall, what do you think?
Well, we do this every time when the track's real cold. We don't spray for Pro Stock down track, and they do it every time. And I don't know why that they can't get it through their head, but, we're just lucky. Just then, Jonathan didn't wreck, Vincent didn't wreck his car, but that's not drag racing when you got to do that kind of crap. So, as you can see, they're spraying now, so maybe it'll be safe now.
His son Shane is coming up next as he takes on V Gaines.
We noticed the sprayers were out, and you saw it go right behind Johnny right there.
Well, here's the issue. There's 2 types of tracks that you want for 2 different classes, the field classes and the Pro Stock. The field classes, you don't want the glued down track because it wants to pull the rubber off of the tires, and that becomes an unsafe situation.
And you got plenty of downforce, too.
And you got plenty of downforce. For the Pro Stocks, they don't have the downforce. They need some more traction, more glued down track to help them, since they don't want to put any wing on the cars, which I don't really understand why they don't, because they're making 1,400 horsepower now. Put some wing on the car, boys.
Well, we definitely have more spray on the track for Jonathan's brother Shane, who comes to the starting line, clinched into the countdown already against V Gaines, who started strong, kind of fell apart there in the middle, but here over the last couple of races, that Kendall car's been running better.
Yeah, they brought that new Dodge Dart, and they definitely struggled with it with a four-link problem that was actually rubbing, and they didn't catch it right away. And then when they made that changes, they still struggled trying to get the setup. But as you mentioned, Dave, they've really started to improve. Shane Gray in the other lane, though, that car has really been running well performance-wise all year long. When I do my power rankings on that performance formula, he's pretty much always in the top 5, and more often than not in the top 3. Car makes a lot of power.
Surprisingly, no round wins the last 3 years here for Shane Gray. Meanwhile, V on the other side was the runner-up last year to Mike Edwards. The only time in 17 prior races at Brainerd, V Gaines has been past the second round.
Well, V's already got into pre-staged. Pre-stages. Now they're both going to go in and light the second bulb and mat the throttle and try to hit the tree.
Keep it in the groove. Shane gets away first. And with a 661, gets to the finish line first as well. So Johnny's got one son pushed through to the second round.
Back in the pit of Robert Height for our Napa Track Fact as this team gets the car turned around to go back up to the start line after doing that burnout. They did put fresh oil in, a whole new clutch pack, refueled the car, and that's about it before they're going to roll up to the start line again. But Robert, for you, you just told me you've been in and out of this car 4 times already. You haven't even made a pass. What does that do to you mentally?
Oh, it wears you out. I mean, it's just, you have to get up when you get in one of these cars. And now when all this happens, you got to relax and get down. Now I've got to get back up and get out there. Bob Task is tough, and I've got to do my job. So my guys, they're working hard in here. Even saw them checking the blower. You know, we've never go up there and just do a burnout and stop it. So my guys check everything. They want to see how the blower feels after just a burnout.
Very interesting. Thank you, Robert.
Dave Conley, is he on his way to top fuel next year for Bob Vandergrift Racing? That's the rumor. He's got himself a big-time reaction time advantage over Chris McGahey, driving the car that did win here last year.
778.
Low ET of the meet. 660 with a 4, 207 miles per hour. You saw Chris McGahey. Looked like he blew the engine up big time on his run.
10 years ago here, Dave Conley won his first pro stock race over Greg Anderson.
We're going to take another look. Watch the right side of your screen. Just past half track, you're going to see some smoke come out of Chris McGahey's car. And then shortly after that, whatever broke big time. A lot of smoke, and there'll be some pretty good damage to that engine, I believe.
Very costly moment there for Chris McGahey, as those engines in these cars not cheap. On board, riding with Jeg Coughlin, already countdown clinched with a couple of wins this year in Atlanta and Englishtown. We'll take on Larry Morgan. 25th time these two have faced off head-to-head. Jeggy's won 19 of them previously. He's got himself a big-time advantage on the reaction timer. 660
with a 2:208.42. Nice job, guys.
That now represents slow elapsed time.
The car felt really nice until about the last 200-300 feet. So good job.
You heard Jeg talking on the radio about this. I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, obviously we've seen the best runs of the weekend thus far, but not by a whole lot. I thought they'd be running a little bit quicker than they are with these conditions.
Greg Anderson is a power rank driver, and Greg Anderson is now free and clear to add to his points total. Chris McGahey, the driver in 8th, V Gaines ahead of him. Behind, Larry Morgan, Roger Brogdon, everybody, and is out of this race. So Greg, it's now become very easy for him.
I mean, if you just go to the final round, he'll move up another position. But first, he's got to get around Derek Kramer.
And what did Derek Kramer do this weekend, Stat Guy?
He went on Craigslist and bought a vehicle to drive around the zoo. They took the roof off, they took the doors off, they put some lights on, and he and his dad had a great time. They're going to actually sell it again on Monday and get some of their bucks back.
Somebody back there in the zoo will probably buy it, too.
Guaranteed.
Absolutely. Derek Kramer looking for his first round win. And if you're anybody in this countdown chase trying to battle for that top spot, Chris McGahey ahead of Greg, maybe Jonathan Gray behind him, now would be a great time, these drivers would think, to see Derek Kramer get his first round win.
Oh, he's got a big advantage.
Double 04. Did he just steal one?
Oh!
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Derek Kramer has just earned his first round win.
Wow.
Look at the ET on Greg Anderson's side.
Low ET by a bunch. A 657 at 209 miles per hour, and he's going home.
No need to sell that van just yet.
Jeez. A double 04 reaction time for Derek Kramer, over 700ths of a second advantage over Greg Anderson off of the starting line, and obviously he needed pretty much every bit of it. As you take a look at the Lucas Oil photo finish cam by Justin Nose, Derek Kramer advances in a huge upset.
No disrespect to Derek Kramer, Greg Anderson will be upset with himself. Look at the starting line. They can't believe it, especially when you try digesting those numbers. How does a 6.64 beat a 6.57? 004 on the reaction timer. On a single, here is Alan Johnson. Shouldn't automatically give it to him based on what we just saw. Certainly lane choice is something he's thinking about, but to beat that, he's got to beat a 772, and he crushed it, 660 with a 1. So Alan Johnson will have lane choice against Vincent Nobile in round 2.
Greg Anderson, the question becomes, how big of an opportunity was just missed right there?
Humongous, Gary. That's pitiful. I don't know how I pulled that one off, but obviously I screwed up. So I apologize to all the Summit guys. Obviously I had a fantastic hot rod. That's low ET by about 300 so far. So that one's all on me. All I can do is pick my nose up off the ground and go on to Indy, another one of my favorite racetracks, and try and win that one. But doggone it, I love Brainerd. I got a lot of history here, and I sure didn't make a very good statement to all my family and friends here. That's a bummer, but we'll go on. I'll pick my head up and I'll go on.
Thanks, Greg.
Well, let's talk about the way that's set up. Derek Kramer's best run was a 675, so I'm sure Greg went up there and said, okay, let's play it safe. Let's hit an 040 and 050. He was off, hit an 070. Wasn't the light he was looking for. Derek Kramer goes out, makes a perfect run, runs his best ET by a 10th, and gets the win.
Well, here comes Greg's teammate, Jason Line. Countdown clinched already up against Mark Hogan. There's Jason, Dad Lawrence, Mom Maxine, brothers Ben and Lance, a whole lot of aunts, uncles, cousins, dogs, nephews, the whole Line community here in support of Jason. And he does proud for them. 6.57.3. No upset here. Jason Line advances.
Derek Kramer, you pull a stunning upset. Anytime you beat a guy like Greg Anderson who's involved in a countdown battle, that's got to be special satisfaction. So which is better, the 004 reaction time or just the overall win?
Oh, at this point, I'll take the win. I know I've been struggling driving the last couple of weeks, but, you know, 004, you can't complain too much about that. There's not a lot of room for improvement there, so I'll take the win any way I can get it.
Now, they were showing video, and I didn't get a chance to see it here earlier, of your special zoo car for the weekend. How did that all come about?
Well, my clutch guy, Dwayne, worked for V prior to working for us, and he's kind of had this idea floating around in his head for the past 12 years, and finally this year we kind of made it happen.
And how has the reaction been?
Everyone has really loved it. Everyone thought, you know, that was pretty fun. It was neat, and it was a good time.
Having a great time at Brainerd. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, the new low standard was just set by Jason Line, 6.57.3. But you know, Erica Ender-Stevens will challenge that, and Dave River out of Maquoketa, Iowa, will keep Erica and her elite team honest here.
Well, that's the key for Erica. Just go down the racetrack, not get too much tire shaking, and hit those gears just right. We know she has the power, but Jason Line and Greg Anderson have been running very well coming into this event too. Oh, something happens.
Dave Rivers gets his first ever round win on numbers I'm still trying to analyze. Dave goes 0-12 on the reaction timer. Take a look at Erica Ender-Stevens. That's triple zeros and lost.
Wow.
A big surprise here. Erica Ender-Stevens is trying to lock up the #1 seed. Has just now opened the door big time for her buddy, Alan Johnson. And Jason Line. Wow, it was an eventful first session of Pro Stock, the first session of Funny Car. We'll finish when we come back as Robert Hight and Bob Taska complete round 1.